Welcome into the Inner Compass podcast show. I am your host, Jackson Ogo, and thank you for joining us on episode 10 of the Inner Compass podcast show. In this episode, we're diving into the importance of setting boundaries. What are boundaries and why do they matter? Why do some people find it harder than others to set and hold boundaries? What should you do when someone resists or challenges the limits you've set? And perhaps most importantly, how can boundaries deepen our connections instead of creating distance? The overflowing cup. Ava was the one everyone came to, at work, at home, even in her friend group. She said yes to extra shifts, last-minute favors, emotional venting sessions. She wore deplorable like a badge of honor until it became a burden. One evening, after helping a friend move, Ava sat on her couch, exhausted and resentful. Her phone buzzed again. "Can you help me with one more thing?" Her chest tightened. Tears welled up, not from sadness, but from emptiness. She had nothing left to give. That night, Ava wrote a sentence in her journal. "I can't keep pouring from an empty cup." The next day, she started saying no. Not out of spite, but self-respect. It wasn't easy. Some people didn't like it, but over time, something beautiful happened. She began to feel whole again. Setting boundaries didn't push people away. It helped her show up with more energy, clarity, and love for them and for herself. The moral of the story? Boundaries aren't barriers. They're bridges back to balance built from self-worth. What are boundaries and why do we need them? Boundaries are personal limits we've set to protect our time, energy, emotional well-being, and values. They define what we're comfortable with and what we're not when it comes to how others treat us, how we treat ourselves, and how we navigate the world. Boundaries could be physical, like your personal space, emotional, like how much you share or absorb from others, mental, like protecting your thoughts and focus, and or time-based, like situations you have to say no to preserve your peace. So why do we need boundaries? We need boundaries to protect our mental and emotional health, to prevent burnout, resentment, or being overwhelmed, to build self-respect and reinforce our values, to create healthier or more respectable relationships, and finally, to make space for rest, healing, and personal growth. Without boundaries, we risk losing ourselves in the demands and emotions of others. With boundaries, we honor our needs, stay grounded in our truth, and create room for deeper, more authentic connections. But if boundaries are so essential, why do so many of us find it hard to set them? Why do some of us struggle more than others with setting boundaries? Some of us struggle more with setting boundaries because of past experiences, low self-worth, or fear of conflict. If you were taught to prioritize others, avoid upsetting people, or felt unsafe saying no, boundaries can feel uncomfortable or even wrong. It often comes down to learned patterns, emotional conditioning, and how much we value and protect our own needs. Here's a breakdown of why that happens. Number 1. Childhood conditioning. If you grew up in a home where your needs weren't respected, or where saying no led to punishment, guilt, or emotional withdrawal, you may have learned to prioritize others over yourself. Number 2, people-pleasing tendencies. Some people derive their self-worth from being liked or needed, so setting boundaries can feel selfish or risky. Saying no might feel like letting someone down, which can be emotionally painful for those who fear rejection. Number 3, low self-esteem. If you don't believe your needs are valid or important, it becomes difficult to assert them. There's a tendency to accept mistreatment because of an unconscious belief that this is all I deserve. Number 4, fear of conflict. Setting boundaries can invite confrontation or tension. For those who fear arguments, disapproval, or emotional backlash, avoiding boundaries can feel safer, even if it's harmful long term. Number 5, cultural or gender norms. Many cultures teach individuals, especially women or marginalized groups, to be more accommodating, self-sacrificing, or agreeable. In some communities, saying no may be seen as disrespectful or dishonorable. And finally, number 6, trauma and attachment patterns. Those with insecure and anxious attachment styles may fear abandonment if they assert their boundaries. Trauma survivors may internalize the idea that safety comes from compliance or control and not self-protection. The bottom line is that setting boundaries require a sense of safety, self-worth, and clarity, things that not everyone has the chance to develop. But the good news is that boundaries are a skill. With practice, support, and healing, anyone can learn to set and uphold them. Understanding why setting boundaries can be difficult is the first step. But even once you've set one, the real challenge comes from when others don't respond well. What can you do when someone pushes back or gets upset about your boundary? When someone pushes back or gets upset about your boundary, it will be uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. Here's what you could do. Number 1, stay calm and grounded. Hold your boundary with clarity and kindness. You don't need to match their emotional intensity. Take a deep breath and remember, it's okay if they're upset. Number 2, reaffirm your boundary. You can gently repeat or rephrase your boundary. For example, I understand this is hard, but this is something I need for my well-being. Number 3, don't over-explain or apologize excessively. When you over-explain, you invite negotiation. It's okay to be firm without being rude. You don't need to justify taking care of yourself. And finally, number 4, recognize their discomfort isn't your responsibility. Their reaction is about them, not you. People often resist boundaries when they benefit from you not having them. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, and sometimes discomfort is part of the process. But it gets easier with practice, and the right people will adjust. Handling pushback can be tough, but it's important to remember that boundaries aren't meant to create distance. They're meant to create clarity. In fact, when approached with honesty and care, boundaries don't damage relationships. They strengthen them. Boundaries actually strengthen relationships because they create trust, clarity, and mutual respect. When you set a boundary, you're showing others what's okay and what's not, which helps prevent resentment, confusion, and burnout. Clear boundaries allow people to show up more authentically because no one is guessing or walking on eggshells. Here's a few examples of how boundaries actually strengthen relationships rather than damage them. Number 1, in friendships. I can't always respond to messages right away, but I'll get back to you when I can. This response sets clear expectations and prevents misunderstandings or hurt feelings when you're unavailable. A true friend will understand and appreciate your honesty. Number 2, in romantic relationships. I need some time alone after work to decompress before we talk. This response prevents unnecessary tension and helps you show up more present and engaged. It also teaches your partner to respect your needs without taking it personally. Number 3, in family dynamics. I'm not comfortable discussing my personal life at every family gathering. This response reduces anxiety or pressure, making family interactions feel safer and more respectful. Over time, this can deepen mutual trust. Number 4, in the workplace. I don't check emails after 6 p.m. to maintain work-life balance. This response models healthy behavior, prevents burnout, and sets a professional tone. When respected, it builds a more balanced and sustainable working relationship. And finally, number 5, with yourself. Your internal boundaries. I won't commit to things out of guilt or obligation. You show up more fully and genuinely when you say yes because you mean it, not because you feel pressured. This leads to healthier, more balanced connections. In each of these examples, the boundary isn't pushing people away. It's creating a framework for healthier, more respectful interactions. The right people won't be threatened by your boundaries. They'll appreciate the honesty and feel safer in the clarity it creates. You can't set boundaries and take responsibility for other people's feelings at the same time. Nedra Tawwab. As we close today's episode, remember this. Boundaries are not walls. They're bridges built from clarity, self-respect, and a deep understanding of your worth. It's not always easy to say no, to disappoint others, or to stand firm in what you need. But every time you set a boundary, you send a message to yourself and the world. My well-being matters. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're not rude for choosing rest. You're not wrong for wanting space. You're simply honoring yourself. And that is one of the most loving things you can do. But boundaries aren't the full story. Sometimes the hardest person to hold space for is you. That is why in our next episode, we'll explore the power of self-compassion. Because setting limits is one thing, but learning to speak to yourself with grace, patience, and kindness, that's a deeper kind of strength. We'll talk about how self-compassion fuels growth, softens judgment, and gives you permission to be human, flaws and all. Until next time, take care of your energy, protect your peace, and keep following your inner compass. You are worthy of the love you give so freely to others. Thank you.